So with the Washington Wizards winning their play-in game yesterday, they're officially going to face the number 1 seed Philadelphia 76ers in the first round. And obviously, the Wizards are going to be underdogs in this series, but I do think they have a better chance of winning the series than most 8 seeds in the past have had. So in today's video, I'll be predicting who I think will win the series and telling you why. The 76ers or the Wizards. How this is going to work is that I'm going to give some reasons to why the Philadelphia 76ers can beat the Wizards and some reasons to why the Wizards can beat the 76ers. And then at the end of the video, I'll come to a conclusion to who I think will win the series. But before we get into the video, I ask you to drop a like on this video as it does help my channel grow. Subscribe to my channel if you want weekly NBA content and to reach my goal of 1,000 subscribers. And comment on this video to start a conversation with me as I do respond to all comments. And play that intro. The first reason the Philadelphia 76ers can beat the Washington Wizards is the fact that Philadelphia is one of the best defensive teams in the NBA, as during the regular season, Philadelphia ranked as the second best defensive team in the league, and this was with their second best defensive player in Joel Embiid missing over 20 games, and Ben Simmons missed a handful of games as well. So this is clearly just a great defensive roster, and defensively, they're led by Ben Simmons, who is a legitimate candidate to win the Defensive Player of the Year award. And I think if I could vote for the Defensive Player of the Year, he would have my vote, since he's one of the best defenders in the league due to his versatility. He can legitimately guard 1 through 5 at an elite level, and he's an amazing help defender, and he's also a fantastic perimeter defender. As I'd argue, he's arguably the best perimeter defender in the whole league. They also have a guy in Joel Embiid who's a top 10 defender in the league due to his rim protection, and they have guys like Danny Green, who's a solid perimeter defender, Matisse Thybulle, who's a really good perimeter defender in the league, George Hill, who's a solid defender, and Dwight Howard's an amazing backup center on the defensive side of the floor. So this is a team that's filled with a bunch of not only above average defenders, but some very good ones and elite ones. As we all know, the Wizards are led by their dynamic duo and backcourt of Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal. And I honestly think the 76ers have some defenders who could do an amazing job on those guys, as they could put Ben Simmons on a guy like Bradley Beal, and I think you do an exceptional job, as good as anyone else in the NBA. And on Russell Westbrook, they could put a guy like Danny Green or Matisse Thybulle on him. I think those guys will do a pretty solid job, especially Matisse Thybulle. I think he'll be great defensively on Westbrook. And they have Joel Embiid, who will basically eat up any of the Wizards centers in Alex Robin or Daniel Gafford. And for guys like Rui Hachimura and Davis Bertans, I think by putting guys like Tobias Harris and Danny Green, they'll be fine. Those guys won't be the reason you lose a series. So if the Sixers win the series, defense will definitely be a big part of it. The first reason the Washington Wizards can beat the Philadelphia 76ers is the fact that the Wizards arguably have a top 3 backcourt in the league right now in Russell Westbrook and Beal. And I know I said Philadelphia has some guys who I believe can do a good job on them, and I still believe that, but nonetheless, these are still two top 25 players in the league, and it's not easy to just completely lock them up, and there's still a chance that despite the good defense, they still will have an amazing series. And if the Wizards even want to have a slim chance to win the series, those two are going to have to be absolutely great, because the Wizards are a team that relies on them a lot, and if they're not amazing, they simply will not win the series. So if Washington pulls off this upset somehow and wins the series, it will definitely be off the back of Beal and Russ playing amazing. The second reason the Philadelphia 76ers can beat the Washington Wizards is the fact that the Wizards have absolutely no answer for Joel Embiid. And you might be thinking, is there any team in the league that has an answer for Embiid? And the answer to that is also no, but there are teams that are better equipped than others to defend him. Since you're not going to stop a superstar, but if you could somewhat slow him down, that could be great. But the Wizards aren't even able to slow him down or even keep him at his average. He's going to absolutely eat and play amazing, because the Wizards have absolutely no one who can guard him. In the 3 games he played versus the Wizards this season, Embiid averaged 30 points and 9 rebounds, shooting 60% from the field and 83% from 3 in only 30 minutes. So those are already some dominant numbers that would be good enough, but taken, he only did that in 30 minutes. In the postseason, he'll be playing closer to 40 minutes, so the Wizards are going to be in some real problems. They will probably try and put centers like Alex Len, Robin Lopez, and Daniel Gafford on him, and none of those guys are intimidating enough because Alex Len is simply too slow and not strong enough, but who really is in the NBA? Daniel Gafford has the quickness and the athleticism, but he's too small and weak. Robin Lopez may have the strength, but he's too slow and lacks the athleticism. So I'm honestly just scared for Washington in this series because I know Embiid's going to be scoring at non-stop. And if Washington ever wants to double team him, the 76ers have added shooters to their team, and guys like Seth Curry, George Hill, Danny Green, and others. And even Tobias Harris can knock down threes at an elite level. So even if you wanted to double team Embiid, he could just kick it out to a wide open 3-point shooter, which might even be worse than just letting him post up one-on-one, if we're being honest. The second reason the Washington Wizards could win the series against the Philadelphia 76ers is the fact that although they don't have someone who can stop Joel Embiid in a one-on-one, overall, they are a good team defense. As post All-Star break, they went from a below average defense to a top 10 defense, which is a huge leap, and I think in the postseason, they can keep this play up since they will be trying their hardest. This team isn't necessarily a great defensively talented team, and the fact that they have been really good on defense of late has shown me that Scott Brooks deserves a bit more credit. He's still not a good coach as he messes up a lot of things and has no good offensive game plans, but something he did help with was definitely their defense. And if they want to beat Philadelphia, they're going to have a good defensive scheme, whether it's by doing some weird stuff to Ben Simmons since he can't shoot the ball, or either letting Embiid post up or double teaming him and doing some nice rotations or closing out to the shooters, something like that. I don't know, man. I'm not a coach, but what I do know is that they have been good on defense as of late, and if there's if they even want like a 1% chance of winning the series, they cannot be a trash defensive team. The third reason the Philadelphia 76ers can beat the Washington Wizards is simply because of the fact that the 76ers are the superior and better team in this series. As they're way better on offense with their 3-point shooting and star players, they're way better on defense as they have 2 top 10 defenders and a bunch of other good defenders, and they are the number 1 seed for the reason, and the Wizards are the number 8 seed for a reason. There's no reason the Sixers should actually lose this series. They would have to absolutely have a terrible choke job to lose this, and there's no excuse for them losing. I don't think it's impossible for Washington to win, but simply Philadelphia is the better team, and they should win this, bro. Third reason the Washington Wizards could win the series is the fact that in a series like this, there will definitely be some close games. And I honestly believe that I trust Washington a bit more in a close game in the 4th quarter than I do with the Philadelphia 76ers. Because don't get me wrong, Joel Embiid is a clutch player, but it's harder to feed your big men down the stretch of games at times since refs don't call fouls as much, and it's simply just harder. And although Tobias Harris hasn't been bad in the clutch this year, I haven't ever seen him step up in the postseason. As the last 2 years, he absolutely wet the bed in the postseason, so I'm not willing to bet on him. And when you see that the Wizards have Russell Westbrook, who had the highest clutch percentage in the league, and he's just a very clutch player in general who makes winning plays down a stretch of games, and they have Bradley Beal, who's not necessarily the most clutch player in the league, but he still is a scorer who I don't think will absolutely choke down a stretch of games. I trust Philadelphia, but I trust the Washington Wizards more down the stretch of a game. And if the Wizards want to steal a game, I doubt it will be in a blowout, and I predict it will be in a closely, tightly contested game. But to conclude the video, if I have to predict who I think will win the series, I'm going to say the Philadelphia 76ers win it in 5 games. I'm not sleeping on the Wizards, and I think there's a good chance they take it to 6 games, but Bradley Beal's hamstring is clearly not at 100%, and on top of that, he's going to be guarded by 2 elite perimeter defenders in either Ben Simmons or Matisse Thybulle. So I wouldn't be surprised if he had an off series, and Russell Westbrook hasn't had a legitimately good and efficient series defense over the last few years, so there is a chance that he underperforms. But I will say this, the Wizards have a better chance than most 8 seeds of the past few years to actually upset the 1 seed, and I give them a good chance to at least make it somewhat competitive. But the Sixers are simply the better offensive team and defensive team, and they have the way better best player in the series, so I'm going to predict them to win it in 5 games. Anyways, guys, that's it for the video. Let me know who you think is going to win the series, the Wizards or the 76ers. Drop a like on this video to help my channel grow. Subscribe to my channel if you want weekly NBA content and to reach my goal of 1,000 subscribers. And comment on this video, start a conversation with me as I do respond to all comments. And I'm out.